Docubloggers is about community engagement.
It's a television show.
It's a website.
It's a multimedia revolution chronicling life in Central Texas.
So, go home and
Share your story. Submit a docublog by September 22nd and get a free t-shirt. All eligible entries will also compete for the grand prize.
Log on to klru.org/docubloggers for more details.
Deep inside of the artist, there's a yearning and a desire to leave something behind. Now, when you have children, you're doing the same thing. You're leaving a legacy. I think the artist also leaves a legacy that here are things that this person lived in Texas and left these things for us to enjoy until I don't know when. Because, you know, works of art still endure after cavemen drew on the walls. They're still around to inspire and for us to enjoy. I'm Professor Paul Hatgil, and I taught at the University of Texas for a period of 34 years. Coming from Boston, hoping just to teach a couple of years to get some experience. And my wife and I, Kay, have been here since 1951. And I retired in '85 with a title that the Regents conferred on me, Professor Emeritus. In my years of teaching, I ran a gauntlet of almost every medium. I did ceramics, I painted, I did sculpture, I did mosaics, work in plastics. I remember the words of Buckminster Fuller, who designed the geodesic dome. He says, in order to be an artist or a creative person, you have to take courses in engineering, be a scientist, a philosopher, an architect. You've got to be exposed to all these things, so you have these in your little basket. So whenever you want to draw from them, they're readily available, and I think that's good. I have a church here in St. Paul's Lutheran Church. I have 4 mosaics. I did a mosaic for Mrs. Lyndon Johnson for the Fox Studio building when that building was the KTBC building and owned by the Johnsons. I did a mosaic of the first building on the campus, and the mosaic is located in the faculty club on Guadalupe. On the business administration building on the campus, I did 50 ceramic reliefs, each one 3 by 5 feet, that encircle the top of the building. And most people don't see it because they don't look up, you know, and they don't realize how large they are. But they're abstract symbols that relate to the round circle in our society, in our life. Buttons and things in the computer, everything's a button. So I have a lot of circles. Even in some of my paintings I use a circle. When I retired, I wanted to do something that I hadn't done in some medium. And I came across a medium called encaustic. And it comes from the Greek meaning to burn. Like caustic is something that burns. From my welding days on the Liberty ships. See, I get it real low. Now this also serves as a paintbrush. Now come on close, you'll see what happens.
That's amazing.
This wax, after it ages, it's almost indestructible. Now I can take my paintings and try to melt them with a blowtorch. They'll char, but they won't melt, even though they're done in wax. Yeah, I'm actually the first generation Greek. My parents came to this country to make a better life for their children. How can you discount not being influenced by art when just walking the streets of Greece, you see all sorts of monuments and links to your heritage. I enjoyed my teaching because it allowed me to work on a one-to-one basis on students who loved what they were doing, you know, and interested in advancing themselves in a field that they've always wanted to pursue. And that's a great thing. And I tried mostly to give them and impart as much information as possible on my own experiences, because they can read books about artists, but they can't find out about problems in studio art as it applies to the outside world. And the way I used to grade, I didn't grade alone. I graded with the students. We'd put all the work up front, line it up, put your work up there, and I'd ask students, okay, Benedict, I want you to pick out any piece in there, I want you to talk about it, not your own. And she would say, well, I see this and I like this, but I don't care for this. And then the other students would chime in. And then at the end, I would interrupt and say, well, look, these are my feelings about it, right? So it was a very democratic thing that was going on, right? I wasn't a dictator in class. To do something that's never been done before and highly individual, it's a great feeling to arrive at something, a sort of a serendipity, to make a discovery that you alone did it.
What is a docublogger? A docublogger is a creative individual that not only enjoys watching stories about their community, they enjoy telling them as well. Whether they're sharing their opinions through a blog or grabbing a camera and documenting a story as it unfolds, docubloggers can find a home at klru.org/docubloggers. We invite you to join us in creating and enjoying stories about life in Central Texas.
Marble Falls. It's a small town. My parents live very close to my house, and my nieces and nephews and my sister and my brother. It's the life of a small town, you know. Philosophy and theology and psychology, all of that, they're all related, and art is part of that. When I'm going to make a piece of like an angel, you know, I go through the theology behind that angel, or Our Lady of Guadalupe, the last mosaic that I made. It was very interesting to learn all the theology behind that painting from the people in Mexico and the Mexican culture and all of that. So it's something that, you know, they're all related to me. Art is always, you know, since a child I used to draw and do little things. I grew up in a small town called Sogamoso. When I finished high school, I moved to Tunja, and I went to college in Tunja, which is up on the mountains. It's very cold the whole year. It was a very difficult time for my family and me, because Colombia is a very violent country, and we experienced some kidnapping and problems. So they moved here 4 years ago to the United States. It was a blessing to have me here because I was ready to help them. I grew up Catholic, you know, in a Catholic family. And when I finished high school, I was not sure if I was called to be a priest or to do something different. And then when I was in the seminary in Tunja, I was there for 3 years, and I discovered that the Catholic Church is a universal church, and that the same church in Europe or South America or North America is the same. So I decided to be a missionary, to go to a different place and serve. My first assignment was in El Paso, and I was very busy. It was a big church. And the pastor, he used to play golf every day, and I was like, I don't want to do that. You know, my free time, I want to do something that I like. A friend of mine, another priest, Father Drennan from Austin, from San Antonio, he gave me as a Christmas gift a set of tools and tiles. And I stored that for a while, and then one day I decided to open the bags, and I said, I'm going to start working. And I was always fascinated with mosaics. You know, every time I go to Italy or Greece, and it's just, they're beautiful. So I did my first mosaic, and then I said I want to go to school, and I went to the School of Mosaic in Ravenna. I believe the oldest mosaic is from the 4th century before Jesus Christ. And they used to be like white and black because they used marble. And the first mosaics were floor mosaics. And then in the 5th and the 6th century, they decided to move those to the walls and later to the ceilings. The Byzantine style uses a lot of blues for the sky at the very beginning. And then at the end, they decided to move to gold. And so the heaven now is gold. When you go to a church, you have the people, and then you have the saints, and then the apostles, and then God on the ceiling. So it's a beautiful, you know, going from heaven to earth. And you're part of that history. Granite is a very hard stone to break. I used it sometimes, but not that much, because it's a very strong, hard stone to break. Marble is very easy to break. So I use some, you know, materials, new things, local materials. My parents, they moved here and they were very depressed at the very beginning. They were like homesick, and so this is a very good therapy for them, to come over here and break stones and break the glass. And every morning my father comes and I, you know, it's good for him. It's a very good therapy, and he feels good now. And every time we have an exhibit, he feels that, you know, it's something that we create. My biggest responsibility, it's the people of God, you know, the community. Since I baptized the little baby to when I married them, when I buried them. So it's just to be a good shepherd. There's a letter from John Paul II to craftsmen. God created everything from nothing. You know, He is the creator. And we're craftsmen because we give beauty to what God created. Everything is beautiful. So art is a gift. We are in a busy society, and we have so many things to do, and we are always searching for peace. And when you see a beautiful piece of art and you find peace, that's a gift that comes, you know, from God.
Hey, this is Richard Garriott, and you're watching Docubloggers.
Yellow Bike Project!
Yellow bikes are essentially a way for us to divert bikes from the landfill and for us to also teach people how to fix bikes. And then we put them out on the street, and typically they get taken by somebody who's really in need. Some folks at Bikes Not Bombs were volunteering and kind of wanted to affect the local community a little bit more than Bikes Not Bombs was. And so they decided, well, why don't we start a project where we take in unwanted bikes and we fix them up and we put them out on the streets. So it's kind of modeled after the White Bike program in Amsterdam. And then from there, it started out in a couple of people's backyard, and then it moved over to a city-owned shop on Hargrave, which was a great accomplishment to get the city's support. And then from there it moved across the driveway here, and then it moved here, and this is all city owned. So the city's been supporting us for about 10 years. And currently we're going to be moving, and the reason for that is that they're going to knock down this building. The city's no longer going to be giving us an actual building warehouse space, but we have convinced them to let us lease some land for 50 years, and it's essentially a gift. It's $1 a year kind of a lease. But we have to build a building to go on it. And so the collective is made up of people who volunteer 24 hours or more a season. Coordinators, we have about 25 right now. And some are real active and some are less active, but we all contribute by running shops. A lot of people who aren't members come in and use the shop. You don't have to be a member to use the shop. The way it's supposed to work is that you come in and kind of an honor system, you volunteer back a time equivalent to what you use working on your own stuff. And that serves to help us get bikes ready for ready-to-ride bikes that people can get. It gets yellow bikes ready, it gets kids' bikes ready that we give out to area schools and other kinds of programs. And then at the same time, you're learning how to fix your own bike, and so when you come in, you can use our tools and ask us how to do things. Right now, this is a coordinator work party, so it's focusing on fixing bikes for our big bike sale, which is this Saturday. We're trying to lighten the load before our move, and so we want to get as many bikes fixed and out of here and being ridden on the streets before we kind of close down our main shop for a while we build our new building. We're going to be moving the bike shop as much as we can, depending on our turnout, with human power. And what that means is most of the big stuff, in fact all of the big stuff, is going to go on big trailers that we have access to. Okay. So you want to take this trailer out and
yeah, we might as well.
Okay. So we're test rides. Our friends have, I don't know if you've ever heard of the Austin Bike Zoo is what they call themselves now. They have big custom-made 12-foot long trailers that are pulled by adult-sized tricycles like Worksmans. And so you can pull a whole lot of weight. Those are going to be moving the bulk of the stuff. Those are our trucks. And then beyond that, we have people who have trailers, even little bob trailers, even panniers or backpacks. And that'll be for the small parts and stuff. We'll move all that stuff. And they're going into storage right now. The new location's awesome. It's at 12th and Weberville. And it is about 3/4 of an acre. It's right on bike routes and bus routes. Essentially, it's the eastern end of 12th Street. It's right by Sims Elementary, so we anticipate working with them a lot with kids programs. And we're going to have just a really awesome tailor-made shop that is going to be better than what we have right now. But first we have to get there and build it and do the fundraising and make that all happen. So it's a challenge right now, but ultimately it's going to be better.
It's not the mountains.
What we see as we ride down here, everybody waving and kind of are astonished that this can be accomplished with bikes. I think that's a good message, and I hope more people ride bikes.
What time is it?
12:30.
We started at 10. That's amazing. We just moved a 4,500 square foot shop in 2.5 hours. We moved the little shop in 2.5 hours, and we thought that was a big deal. We just moved a 4,500 square foot shop in 2.5 hours.
Hey, Catherine, do you have any tools and stuff?
Those tables ready?
Yeah, it's just amazing how many people came out and helped with this. I mean, it's hot out, and we did this, and survived, had fun.
The first step to becoming a Docublogger is logging onto our website at klru.org/Docubloggers.
Exchange your insights and opinions with your community on our blog, watch stories from our broadcasts, view web-only extras, and even add your own docublogs. Find all this and more at klru.org/Docubloggers.
A lot of people see comics as, they see it as something for kids or for 30-year-old men in their mother's basements. So, and obviously I'm not either one of those. You know, I'm a 24-year-old woman who loves reading comics. You know, I love drawing, I love writing. I know the first thing I ever wanted to do was to write and draw my own stories. A lot of my friends who are artists who also work for Tokyopop are female. And this is something that just in the past 5 or 6 years, there's just been this incredible rush of women in the comics industry because many of them were brought in by Japanese comics, which offer more than superhero comics. And they tend to appeal to a lot of women as well. Comics are a very holistic experience. You know, you use the right side of your brain to interpret the images and the emotions. You use the left side of your brain to interpret the words, the language. It's kind of like, it's a lot like watching a movie. And as far as creating it, it's a lot like directing a movie or directing a film. Because, you know, I have to write the script, have to create the characters. Thankfully, I don't have to mess with any actors. The people in Steady Beat are very real. I start out the book with intentionally almost cliche characters. You know, you have sort of the stereotypical family with, you know, you have the older sister who's always beating on the little sister, but they still love each other, and the mom who's kind of overbearing. But kind of the purpose is to show that people change. You know, it's about how the characters develop in life. And you don't see that in a lot of superhero comics and a lot of American comics. Most things, you know, Batman, Superman, they're very plot driven. The characters never grow old, they never get married, or if they do, you know, the person dies and, you know, they start all over again. They always go back to square one. The usual saying goes, a picture's worth 1,000 words. So I tend to tell more through the stories, and I actually really like visual puns. One of the things that is kind of ongoing through a Steady Beat is you see a white elephant in the room. So every time something uncomfortable comes up that everybody knows about, but nobody wants to talk about, there's an elephant somewhere in the room. And sometimes it's very obvious, and sometimes it's very minuscule, like on somebody's keychain hooked to their pants. So it's fun. I love adding in those little things. I practice daily. I keep a sketch pad, you know, I doodle in it, I draw on it, even if it's crap. It's the kind of stuff I'd probably never even show anybody. But you gotta keep on practicing. So many different aspects, you know. Once I learned one thing, I realized, oh, there's this whole other area that I've been neglecting, you know, lettering, ballooning, sound effects. How do you portray that in images? And that's, you know, it's constantly challenging, you know, my mental capacity and my intellect and also my creativity. I don't think I would do this if it was just for the drawing or the writing. Because I like drawing and I like writing, but at times it can be a real pain in the ass. And the reward for me is that, you know, someday people will pick this up, and I'm hoping, you know, with Steady Beat that, you know, a teenage girl will pick this up and say, hey, you know, I've been through this. Or she'll look at it and say, I haven't been through this, but I can sympathize with the characters. I want people to be able to experience the characters and live their lives. It's fun, living the dream, even though I don't make much money.
A docublog is a video that tells a story about a person, place, event, or anything else in your community.
It can be funny, serious, concrete, or avant-garde. We encourage you to go out there and share your story with your neighbors. Go to klru.org/docubloggers to find out how. Become a docublogger. Log on to docubloggers.org to share your opinions and story ideas, or get out your camera and create your own docublog.